Hello, everyone. Welcome. I thank you all for joining us tonight for Takoma Park open poetry reading. It is the summer solstice, so I hope there's a few summer poems out there. I have a few. So welcome on behalf of the City of Takoma Park. This is part of the Third Thursday Poetry Series. This particular one is just open reading. I was thinking we could spend about 10 minutes for each poet, but because there's a lot of us, I think we should go with about 5 minutes, and then if there's more time at the end, you can come and read some more. But we'll try to limit it to about 5 minutes per reader. So this poetry series is presented by the Arts and Humanities Commission, which I'm a member of. By the way, my name's Madonna Tyler LeBlanc. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. This particular Third Thursday Poetry Series is about 12 years in. So there's quite a history of people coming and gathering in this space with a friendly crowd and hearing our words out in this lovely space. So welcome. I see we have plenty of poets, and a couple of people were wanting to go right away. There was a volunteer to come first. Okay. You're welcome to come on up. Great, thank you.
This is a 3-part poem, but I think I only have time for one part, so you have to wait till another time. I'm David Follick, and this poem, what I'm going to read is The Lovelorn Woman 1, and it was written when I heard a poem that a lovelorn woman wrote about her lovelornness, and it made me think of this. And so imagine it's a woman talking. Okay. I am a lovelorn woman stuck inside this poem. I want to get out, but the writer won't let me. She insists on writing about me. I wish she would just leave me alone. I am a lovelorn woman. I care to go outside and go running, go swimming, dance the go-go. I'd like to go cook at a barbecue grill and sing songs with my friends. I'm bored, stuck in this poem, lamenting my loveless life when I could be doing something else. But I'm stuck in this poem because this is what Miss Poetess wants to write about. She needs a character, don't you see? And she chose me, the lovelorn woman. I could have been something else, a mechanic, a baker, a candlestick maker. But alas, I'm the lovelorn woman. You know, I might have time for the other 2 parts. Pull me off stage if I go too long. The Lovelorn Woman 2. Dear poetess, you're writing about lost love. Not 2, but 1 person at the lake now. Sad, depressed, longing. If he would, if I had been, why did he leave? He was my one true love. Alas, I have been forsaken. My love hath gone, and all that. Well, did you ever think about me? Yes, me. Maybe have you ever thought about me? Maybe I'm really free as a lark, dancing with joy that finally he's gone, and now I can go out with Alfred? But no, not in your poem. Oh, I take my hand to my forehead, the back resting on it, I sigh. Where, oh where shall I find him? He hath left me. I shan't find another. My life shall be dreary, this lost love. I shall always carry him in my heart. I shall always want to speak his name when I open my mouth. A stranger walks behind me. I shall think it is him, waiting to feel his hand upon my shoulder, expecting to turn and meet his lips with mine, to be held in his fond embrace. I shall grow to be an old maid, forever longing. Now, this could all change, you know, Miss Poetess. I could be taking a cruise, watching the dolphins. I could be feasting on an Italian meal at the best restaurant. I could be running a marathon, but you want a lovelorn woman, a maiden fair abandoned. I want to be the ambassador to Ireland. I want to go seal watching. I want to write my own poem. The Lovelorn Woman 3. within the 5 minutes. Yes, it hurt, but you know, if it didn't work out, it's for the best. That's what my mom always says. Yes, 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 I know that I loved him. I know that I'm in pain and I miss him. But this is my poem now. My name is Heidi. I go out and dance the go-go. I like to run and swim. Yesterday, my friends and I had a barbecue. We sang all those campfire songs and roasted marshmallows. In 3 weeks, I'm going on a trip to Ireland. My mom's family is from there. I'm so excited. I make Archie candles as a hobby. I give them to my friends and parents and cousins. I own and operate a bakery. It's not a big one, but it's a good one. It's all organic, and our stuff is affordable. After work today, a friend of mine from school, Alfred, and I are going for a run around the lake. Alfred's a mechanic. He taught me how to change oil, put in new spark plugs, and jump a car. Tomorrow night, my parents and I are going to my favorite Italian restaurant. When I get back from Ireland, my cousin Jill and I are going on a whale-watching cruise. Do I look lovelorn? I have a new part to play in this world of poetry. Cha-cha-cha.
If anybody wants to know about readings in Greenbelt or Annapolis, see me later. I'll just read 2 pieces from my demo, Poems by Rocky Jones. Don't tease the dog. When you choose to wave a rag or stick, know that your name is written in the book of death. The dog's submissive role is a matter of choice. Your jugular sings to him. All my poet friends loiter under bridges except when it rains. Then they step out naked for baptism or go out under plastic for dry baptism. All my poet friends wear hats abandoned by film noir wardrobe managers, except the bald ones who know their heads transmit nourishment to the needy sky, or the ones who wear berets because they want people to mistake them for poets who wear berets. All my poet friends are nervous to meet you. They all drink too much coffee or not enough water, or both. Facts unrelated to their being nervous to meet you. You can't accurately guess what they do for a living, nor who they used to be in high school. Every last one of my poet friends is a child of a funeral director. None morbidly preoccupied, but each brings a silver coin to bed in case things take a turn in the night. Each has a piece of jewelry worn out of sight in honor of a dead friend, unrequited love, witchcraft, or Jesus. All of my poet friends have undergone illegal surgeries to tattoo magical or religious phrases on internal organs. Each has given a dog or a cat or a bird, a rodent, or goldfish a Viking funeral. You will know my poet friends by their itchy forearms or their refusal to let you touch their feet, except when they want you to touch their feet, or by their slotted pupils, the horizontal kind. Their indelicate grandmothers called them goat children, every last one, and denied them Sunday afternoon ice cream for the sin of slotted pupils. You can win favor among my poet friends, perhaps trust, respect, maybe even their heart's affection, by failing to notice their devil eyes. Thanks.
in like this. Good afternoon. My name is Rosalind Cambridge. I'm an artist, an educator, and also a poet recently. This particular poem is called Exposure. I'm not calling any names, but you will know who I'm talking about. Exposure. You receive a platform, it is the highest in the land. You think you could do anything with power. Use intimidation as a weapon, trusting in your own earthly wisdom. What is wrong with your mind? Your decisions are senseless. Of course, they benefit you. Oops, elegant decay. What about the common folks? Never mind. The focus is now on me. You pride yourself as the world's best leader and acknowledges so honorably your actions to be true. Wrong calculations, wrong spelling, mispronunciations, misguided information, no knowledge of geographical locations, boasting of your excellence, using slimy sexual language, separating migrant children from their parents who are waiting in solitary confinements, children in horrible cages, crying day and night, night and day. Yet you blame everyone but yourself. Evil Knievel. Watch out. Even your position as chief epitomizes corruption, no self-respect, and from your own platform and administration, sowing wild oats, polluting landscapes with dishonesty. Impacted by illegal behavior, and you have the audacity to reference scriptures from the Bible. A pointless administration, taking credit for a rising economy, a global tragedy, threatening, and yet you say, there's no collusion, no collusion, no collusion, no collusion. Extra, read all about it. It's on YouTube, Snapshot, Internet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, newspapers, magazines, radio stations, and more. Proliferating the air, exposing your rubbish, and you classify it as fake news. Nothing that you do is credible. You say one thing, then you deny the very said thing with lies, 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 and more lies, standing tall in the Empire State Building, and a brass face, exemplifying power, deception, conspiracy, irrational behavior, embodying greed. But where is your self-respect? You were elected by the people for the people, but more and more and more and more and more. You and your dreaded administration are constantly negligent as things fall apart. Can our youth learn anything from this poison administration? Well, even if these exemplars were trustworthy, is there any rhyme or reason to this asset administration? Heavenly Father, we need grace, 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 and more grace. That's the end of that poem. Thank you. Do I have time to read like Timo? Oh, this is a quiet one, and let me read Hidden Treasures, because I think that goes to everyone here. Hidden Treasures. I read this at a tea party. Hidden Treasures. We hide our valuables in boxes and then store them in a safe place for protection. Year after year, valuables remain obscured. We seldom view our dusty collection except for an unexpected occasion. Only then we remember our dusty collection. You know, I have 3 beautiful crystal glasses. I have silver trays, cutlery, what else? I have teapots, serving trays, and oh, what about my bone china collection? Yes, I have 4 different sets of cups and saucers, and I've only used those sets once. Girl, I've been married for over 20 years now, and it was in the fall of 1982 when my mother-in-law informed us of a visit. Yes, oh gosh, that was work. I had to lift, remove dust, and take my collections out of storage that was hidden in the basement for years, huh? Girl, I had to wash and rinse my Waterford collection, shine up my silver trays and cutlery, to remove the tarnished spots, and all that was just for her visitation. But now guess what? I have to do the same again for this tea party in 2018. You know, not once was I ever concerned about my aging collection. My collection was there, tucked away in a safe place and protected, soon to become my family inheritance. Uh-oh, think again. I never considered whether or not the love and joy for my personal collection was ideally the same for my family. Yes, your valuable collection may outlive you. Your valuable collection may be shared among folks who you don't even know. Your valuable collection may be transferred into another home, including estate sales, antiques, or thrift stores. So remember, live life. Enjoy your private collection. Certainly, your collections are for your pleasure and not for another. Thank you. This one is sort of it's just quiet like cherry blossoms. It is towards the end of February, and I'm walking down East-West highways, and I look up. The skeleton trees are budding, and I thought soon there are going to be cherry blossoms again. Only last week it snowed and rained. The trees look so brittle. Could there be life again? The buds look like little candelabras adorning the branch tips. The buds are woven so tightly, it is a cycle. Will buds adorn the trees with a cluster of flowers? Will buds bloom again? Will shades of hot pink and white, petals and a little lime green in between, overshadowing the pavement, signal the beginning of spring? And there's the last one. I'm off. Tornado. Tornadoes. Unseen hands. It's a tornado. Let me say it again. Unseen hands. It is a tornado. Cars piled up, overturned, mingled lumber, steel, buildings, metal, trees, thrown, blown, transported across fields, unrecognizable like monks, onto unfamiliar places, bent and projected. An unusual display is 3D dimensional art. I'm done. Thank you.
So just a quick welcome to those who came in after we had already gotten started. We're the Takoma Park Open Poetry Reading Night, so welcome. I had made a previous announcement that we're just trying to keep the readings to about 5 minutes each to make sure everyone has a chance to read. Okay, who'd like to come next? Come on up. Welcome. Oh, okay.
My name's Penelope, and what else?
Gonna read it? Or no? Okay. Somebody else will read. Oh, great. Thank you. Oh, okay. Stage fright. Next person. You're welcome. Stage fright. Next time. You can do it.
Are you sure? I'll sit back down. All right. My name's Cliff Lynn, and I've changed my name to Willie Purple. That in the event that my vision is lost as a result of an industrial accident, or I get the glaucoma, or catch a falling cataract, or I fix too long on the wild of an eclipsing sun, or a needy blackbird rips my eyes from their eye holes, or somebody's mother mistakenly throws acid in my face, or I trip and fall while carrying 2 giant shards of glass, or I slip into the deepest coma and a good doctor knuckle-headedly harvests my eyes before I wake up. Or even if the loss is due to the normal wear and tear of years, I'll pick me up a bruised, pawn-shopped blues guitar, ride my thumb down the Delta, and folks will call me Blind Willie Purple. Blind Willie Purple. It's got a nice ring to it. This is called Political Poem 07 March 2017. This is the most frightening Stephen King novel I've ever been a character in. I hanker to roll around naked like a drunken hedgehog in a bath of canceled postage stamps. I'm into old mail. I'm often seen in a surgical mask, lined inside with the upper right corners of crumbling ancient envelopes, that the perfume of prehistoric postmarks might linger in my lungs. You Philistine voluminous, oh, you cockeyed collectors of coins of comic books, confound me. You can't comprehend. Blind to this pure postal power, such a small, perfect square of parchment serves as a rocket engine to propel wishes and words the world throughout. In today's world, we purchase pre-epoxied. Still I choose to lick my stamp. Its shape and size, the first two dimensions of a cube of sugar, can be no coincidence. I'm not averse to email per se, but just you try adhering an hallucinogen to the flip side of an electronic stamp. I gotta run. I gotta get my philately on. Hey, love is a bus. Come on, let's throw ourselves under. This is called My Uncle's Brain. Uncle Pete came to one summer morn with a brain that convinced him life would certainly be much truer where it lived as a musical, so he sang and sometimes danced. I was already his favorite nephew, and how lucky is that? Employers, though, couldn't appreciate the raw negotiating power that Fiddler on the Roof and Theme from Shaft brought to the table, and Aunt Phyllis rapidly moved really close to Jesus. And my uncle was decapitated one drizzly December dawn. He drove down a ditch. While the autopsy showed no evidence of parasites or tumors in Pete's brain, it did indicate a blood alcohol content of 0.27 and that he was humming Getting to Know You from The King and I at impact. I am a man with the sculpted physique of a minor Greek god trapped in a fat man's body. In 2009, I was a much sadder, thinner man with a jollier fat man inside, waiting impatiently to emerge. Earlier still, I was a man of moderate build, 53% water, squirreled away in the body of an obese man composed of 47% water. A werewolf traveling in sailor's clothing. I was an enlisted man with a tattoo of a large-breasted mermaid perched upon a fouled anchor, sporting the body of a sailor without a single tattoo. A teetotaler stuck in the ruinous mind of the town drunk, a summa cum laude scholar inhabiting the corporeal form of a college dropout. At one point in time, I was the picture of health, hidden in a teen patient with a murder-minded appendix. In the 60s, a 7-year-old moving about in the body of a boy of 6 3/4 years. In a previous life, I found myself the son of a ventriloquist dummy, trapped in the body of the grandson of a ventriloquist dummy. In a previous life, I was a stereotypical asshat of a poet wedged into the body of a cornstalk thin hint of a man trapped in a fat man's body. Thank you.
My name is Fran Abrams, and I am an artist and a poet, and I'm going to read some of my poems from this book that includes my artwork and my poetry. The first poem is called Breathe. In this crowded city, each tree is but a smudge of greenery, just enough space to sigh. Mountains in the distance, covered with trees, are like the stroke of a giant paintbrush, soaked with green, drawn across the horizon, accented by the passing clouds. When the city presses against you, raise your eyes. The sky goes on for miles. Your breath is as wide as the whole world. This is called A Safe Place. The sky was the same blue as that day in June we were married 5 years ago. The color, too, of the new dress I bought to celebrate our 5th anniversary. I burned the pan black, and the candle scorched the tablecloth an ugly shade of brown as I tried to prepare a romantic dinner. The bruises were yellow and purple where he hit me, furious about the burned pan and the price tag on the blue dress. Like all the times before, he said that he's sorry. He said that he loves me. He swore that it wouldn't happen anymore. Today, I put the key in the green door of my new apartment, a bright space I've decorated in shades of sunshine and peach. I stretch out and almost touch all four walls, but here he cannot reach me. This is called Time Travel at the 7-Eleven. A siren song from the freezer case that only I can hear. It's February, but I must have an ice cream sandwich, a thick layer of cold vanilla ice cream, hugged by 2 chocolate cookies. Now it's August 1953. I hear the truck with the tinkling bells. My pink sandals slap the pavement as I skip with a 6-year-old's confident leaps, coins in my plump, sweaty hand. As I sit on the grass, the ice cream sandwich melts almost faster than I can eat it. My mother washes my hands and face with the garden hose. Nothing left but the wrapper licked clean and the cold ache in my tummy and teeth. A child's pleasure, short-lived but worthy of repeating. And finally, a poem called Where Do Poems Come From? A phrase that sticks to my tongue, words that fall in the shower when I try to catch the errant sounds, an image glimpsed out the front door, a memory that clamors for attention, refusing to leave until I've written it down. No one demands I write poems. It's not a patriotic duty, more a weak headlamp in a dark tunnel. Poems emerge into light as they brawl for meaning, search for the story that wants to be told. Start with a few words and turn into many, or start with many and sharpen to few. Poems are for strangers and neighbors and friends, and thoughts uncovered when found on the page. They may be crusty or chewy or crass or polite, warnings or protests or funny or mad. I never know what I'll find in my head.
My name's Gabriel Heilig. I think like most American poets, we fall under the spell and sway of Walt Whitman. So this poem was written over a long period of time and recently to capture current events. And it's like a report to Whitman. Thank you. So the poem is like a report to Whitman. It's called Breaking the Silence. Has a brief epigraph from D'Angelo McDade, a student from Chicago who was speaking at March for Our Lives, who in what he said, "This is a cruel and silent country." Cruel and silent. Cruel as centuries of cotton picked by quick, dark hands. Silent as suburbs. But no such country of silences for you, camarado, and no silencing. Anthems to the raw constitution of life and the human rough drafts we manage to live by. That's what you wanted. A songbook for the continent, for the country torn from its side, like a child from its mother, and born Christian, born enslaved, born in its founder's silence about the brown truth buried in red, white, and blue. The truth of it all, alive and aloud, rich debates in our public streets and squares, high and low sermons in church and saloon, the soul's deep reach for call and response, finding a voice for shame and for witness. A public country, healing in public. That's what you wanted. Instead, observe, camarado, red mists keep rising from the battlefield creeks. Antietam, Gettysburg, Charlottesville. The blue and the gray, the red and the blue, still lost in their wars. Chicago, Parkland, Sandy Hook, our guns and mistrust, our need for revenge, and all of it pulling our triggers or being pulled by them, and all of it shredding our children, alert at their desks. Observe, as millions of us now, half a nation at least, keep gathering, pacing, glancing around like anxious parents, sweating it out, here where we never thought we would be, in history's emergency room, holding our shivering, fevered, gifted child, our precocious, puking democracy, as it spews all over itself and us, while we keep pacing and glancing, begging the clock for a doctor or nurse or someone, goddammit, someone to come. And here we are again, dressed for success in the pre-dawn darkness, driving off on another groggy commute toward caffeine mornings and cubicle days, weaving this way and that in our rush hour lanes as we text and thumb to ward off the pain. Our phones set on mute, our souls set on numb. And you, camarado, rumpled scribe who went ahead heart first into the continent, back, back, you keep bringing us back to the teepees in flames, the original people shining in darkness, to the shackled families auctioned and sold on the docks where they stood, their wails still assaulting the ricochet peaks, their souls like shocked fossils stamped on the air, and your stern love demanding we learn the dark truth of the genius we brought to the genius we slaughtered. Back, camarado, back, back again, back to brown thunder, to millions of buffalo chasing the scent of spring in the valleys, stampeding the rivers, shuddering the rocks. Then, decades and herds of soldiers later, millions of carcasses piled all over the sagging prairies. And now, the carcass of the country itself, decomposing in public for all to see, on CNN, on Fox. The assassins this time, hyenas in loafers, feet crossed on their desks, grinning as they punch in their latest trades. Between commercials, 24/7, we get our daily ration of news, quick clips of the national massacre, repeated by sweet-faced, earnest reporters, bringing us the blow-dried official focus group take on history's echoing wake-up call. Exhibit A, our national carcass, collapsing in front of us, heaving and snorting, here at the corner of K Street and Wall. And you, camarado, still always you, what must you see another reckless American century later, looking out from above that skywide cumulus froth of a beard, gazing back now over shoulders and hills at this land we share, yet still do not trust to share with each other? the plantation's whips, the cold weapons of war, secret alloys and sensors droning above us, hearing us, each of us, breathing alone. The stars streaking on to somewhere in darkness, above the fumes of a government's lies, and leaders who never seem fully alive. Like this, camarado, as pilgrims of loss, we come, in lonely attention, bent over our screens, in hushed procession through passionless malls, gliding in silence through our temples of wanting, downloading new gods for our digital shrines, and the great common love we could feel even now disappearing around us. With you, camarado, perhaps with you we will find a way to deserve this land and each other. The great names and lost names, who gave it or took it, will break it or bring it. On small roads and broad, we will follow you now. Vowels of courage will carry us on as we dare the slippery rope bridge of language, swaying above what cannot be spoken. Our words like arrows, pointing beyond where they land. Anthems to the rough constitutions of men, democracy's vast, improbable opera, discordant, preposterous, almost always off-key, a public culture, healing in public. That's what you wanted. You, camarado, up somewhere ahead, around the next turn, arms flung wide, thumb outstretched to the sun, always working the road of the page where the path of immensity beckons. Enraptured still captured by America, still after the anthem that can utter it all. That, camarado, the Constitution, Old Glory, and anthem of that's what you wanted. That and a few million of us willing to guard the always empty sacred throne of a people's government, and nodding slowly to each other, drawing the sword of conviction from within ourselves, raise it, saluting our common strength, and together begin to swing it.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Lewis, and as I was walking over here trying to figure out which poems I wanted to read, it was just this beautiful moment between late afternoon and twilight. And it occurred to me I have 3 different poems that all kind of take place at this time of day. So I'm going to read these 3 poems. The first is called, can you guys hear me? Great. The first is called Jökull, which is the Icelandic word for glacier. Eyes to the wind, I watch your hands skip stones across the rippling sky. Behind the lake with iceberg clouds, the glacier lays its massive paws and scores the shore with cobalt claws. I turn to find you on a cairn, calmly perched, an elf on its porch. I used to work trails in Vermont, you say. All the posted signs forbade us to pass. The great Jökull looms glowing under dirt, like a giant black fox with a white tail. Some hikers are dumb and don't read, you add. If we push on, then we're the dumb hikers. Our shoes pause at the sharp crevasse, split by sparring trolls, the tales say. Below us, the luminous mirrored sky. You reach for my hand, we sink into wind. And this next poem is written in honor of a friend of mine. He was an African American homeless vet who lived in Capitol Hill and passed away earlier this year. His name was Tony Hall, and this poem is for him. It's called Last Call on Capitol Hill. Perched on marble steps with a clove cigarette and forehead sweat, listening to cicadas, Tony's day stretches forth like a shadow. Flashback to thunder from an earlier storm, the reveille of a backyard firework booming between the columns. These are the last legs of summer, luxurious days filled with iced tea and toothaches. Pushing off the step, the body braces to lift itself. Now strolling, his metal limb scrapes the bricks that pave Eastern Market. He searches for his wallet, which has the prescription from the VA, loses something every day, and a fire still burns in the knee. Mockingbirds scoop up fireflies in the dusk. Tony emerges from the CVS with a plastic bag. Out come the bottles of pills. He pauses. The bugler down on Barracks Row is culling taps in jaundiced light. The bag rustles in his fingertips. The ring long gone. He hasn't even spoken to her in 16 years. A halo forms beneath the sodium lamp, and then the world is twilight, a humming choir, shades of gold dust. All that remains is the hollow face, a window, an allostatic load. Tony glows softly among the row house shadows. And then this last poem is called Fireflies. Nursing beer and troubles on my porch, with this corncob packed and lit, when a rumble of thunder in the southern summer gives my thoughts a short respite. Rain drips from the eaves to the floor, where it leaves soft patters like tapping fingers. Breeze picks up, snuffs my match. Now in darkness I watch eerie lights start to circle and linger. Green will-o'-the-wisps, why'd you come out tonight to flirt beneath such stormy skies? If you still pursue love, flouting death from above, well then no complaints have I. Thank you very much.
My name is Jonathan Katz. I live in Takoma Park. I went to a conference that was in D.C., and there were 900 booths of places that publish writing. I was peddling a small book of poems and a full-length collection, and it turned out successfully. And I went to 60 places that published poetry. And about the 58th one, I walked up, and there was a young woman behind the desk, and she said her name was Chelsea Barnard, which I thought was a great name for an editor. And I explained that I had this stuff. She said, "Well, we don't do manuscripts." But I said, "Well, when do you read?" And she said, "Well, we just finished reading. We just finished a reading period, but I need 2 poems for next issue." So I agreed that I would send her poems. I went home and I looked at the poems in Dallas Review, which is what she edited, and they were all very short. So I sent her my 5 shortest poems, and these are the 2 that Chelsea Barnard chose. This one's called The Object of My Affection. I have a rush of uncontrollable affection for the flight attendant, gliding forward, gliding back, leaning over now and then to take away whatever I give, because, unlike so many, many others, this attentive one says thank you. Thank you for your trash. And this one is called Box Jelly. Sheer parachute of flesh, you sink and you float, canopied over the little sea of your own juices. An unblinking eye, at each corner of your world. Only hunger and a rare surprise get a rise from you, adrift in an ocean of imminent nourishment and death. You have mastered survival, digesting the smaller things who struggle more, while the idea of hope brews outside your silent, lethal territory, above and under and around, as trilobites come and go, as crabs grow legs and climb aground, for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years. The elegantly tentacled oration that you give the rest of us who swim and crawl through nature's dense curriculum illustrates how buoyantly we too could live without a tragic vision of it all. And the third one tonight, this is an exercise that I do from time to time. I pick a word that has a lot of meanings, different meanings, and I try to use each one of them in a poem. So the name of the poem is that word, and then the word isn't mentioned again. It has to live in the different meanings. So this one is called Chambers. 1. The chancel to the east, which may embrace a choir of or vestry, where the pious could prepare. The apse above the altar tops the reach, rounds off this little universe, may illustrate the starry heavens, flights of angels hovering there. 2. The bird's high-volume heart has 4, proportionally large compared to mammal, beat 5 times within a second to propel the hollow bones and feathers through the vanquished atmosphere. The same rapidity would explode another species, and the sudden load come crashing. 3. Bullets are a tight fit within theirs. The emptiness of several all at once is full of sexuality, the missile spinning towards its barrel like the roulette ball whose carouseling slot lies yearning for its jumpy soul to come to rest within and open up a tomb of consequences. 4. There are so many ways the memory of your voice fills, drives, and penetrates the rooms I wander to escape devotion. I am dizzy with each caught and carried breath. 5. On the surface of our faces now, my index finger traces in those little indentations just beneath our noses, just above the destination where our lips touch, echoes emanating then from unexpected places. That was Chambers. Thanks.
Hello, my name's Noah, and I have 3 poems. First one's called One Day. I don't know why, but that's what it's called. Clouds darken the sky, but still the sun shines through a little darker. Shadows of people and things that are happy. Happiness all around me as I sit on the side of the street waiting. The wind rustles the plants in the distance. A saxophone begins to play. My handwriting. The wind, then the crowd. I heard a voice I recognized. I had not heard it in a long time. I stood up and walked towards the voice when everyone started looking at me and the voice yelled my name. The saxophone stopped. The talking stopped. Everything stopped. But the wind, the shadows, and the people. As the voice screamed for me. It was at that moment when I realized that the voice I had heard was my own voice. The next one is called Life. Golden red trees of autumn and orange-pink light of the sky, the blue of the water, and the green of the grass. And this time of the day, I come outside and see the animals and the beauty. I bring enough food to last me months, but I give it all to the creatures of the forest. A small stream flows into a lake, with the calming sound of the birds and the trickling water over the rocks. There's an island in the middle of the lake where I can watch the fish and the turtles and the occasional frog or water bird. As I lay on the water, I think of how amazing it would be to do this in real life. But I am satisfied that I got to find such a wonderful place in virtual reality. I have one more. This one's called The Tree. I am a tree in the middle of civilization. Cars zooming by. Skyscrapers towering above me. Planes flying above me. Faster, taller, better than I am. I am a tree in a painting. Isolated in civilization. Smoke all around me. As I am blurred and smudged in the painting, I am nothing to people, not even noticed. My life is wilting away, farther and farther. I'm a tree in that painting on TV, behind civilization. Dark clouds swirl around me, nothing, alone, scared. Towers like monsters way above me. The feeling of anxiety becomes a feeling of true pain. I'm still nothing. But then, the lights from the towers turn off. The cars stop. Everything disappears. And I am even more alone. Until more trees appear. And I am in a forest. We are in a forest together.
My name is Penelope, and the name of this poem is The Boy and the Fox. One day there was a boy, and that boy had blood on his eyes, and the fox helped him and got him out of jail because he robbed the bank. Then the fox got caught by the robbers, and he also got taken by them. Then the boy saved him and brought a dog.
My name is Mark Lindemood. I write blank verse and sonnets and haikus. I'm going to try Spenserian stanzas next. But today I thought I would read something that, a rhyming narrative based on a real life news event that everyone I hope will recall, because this is a narration of events as they happened. I actually had to write it in two phases because it got to the end of one phase, and then months later another part happened, and then months later yet another part happened, so I had to keep revisiting this. The Tale of Ammon Bundy and the Box Canyon Riders. Ammon Bundy was shrewd, and he saw his chances to commence a feud over land and ranches. To Oregon he rode with a band of fools who couldn't abide by no government rules. Freedom, he said, means the land is free for ranchers and white folks like you and me. There's a bird sanctuary just a going to seed on account of the federal government's greed. We're taking it back. Let's mount up and load. So they loaded their guns and off they rode. Now, that refuge was closed, so they sauntered right in, not thinking how much like cows in a pen they looked to the law, which wisely held back, while the Bundy gang waited for the law to attack. They wanted a shootout. They wanted a fight. They wanted some bloodshed to prove they was right. But the law never came. The law bided its time and let the gang rot like a squash on a vine. Bundy talked to reporters and made a big fuss about the land being free for ranchers like us, when the Paiute spoke up and said, "Wait just a minute. There was Indians here before white folks was in it." The Bundy boys paused and mumbled some words about land is for ranchers, not Injuns and birds. One boy waved a flag. Their voices grew louder. "If you don't want us here, then bring on your powder." But day after day, the law stayed apart, well aware what the gang was trying to start. The gang pulled up fences and waved big flags and spent cold winter nights in sleeping bags. They cleaned their guns and cleaned them again, trying hard to keep boredom from settling in. But slowly it dawned that all they had done was build a box canyon with no place to run. Trapped they were with no way out. "Freedom and liberty," they continued to shout. But all their shouts just echoed back from the walls of their self-made cul-de-sac. With no lawmen to shoot at and low on stores, one rider drove over to Burns to get more. But before he could spend one government buck, they arrested him for driving a government truck. Now, one man gone didn't mean a whole lot, but the rest of the gang was feeling forgot. "We need some exposure. Let's ride to John Day for a town hall meeting and have our say." So, with rifles and handguns strapped to their side, the Box Canyon riders took one last ride. The highway's long either way from Malheur, but packing those guns, they felt pretty sure that no one would bother to block the road. Poor Ammon Bundy, he just should have knowed, because the trap was set. The law was awaiting. Bundy stopped his truck, but without hesitating, Lavoy Finnegan ran. He ran from the law. And when the law blocked his way, Lavoy led with his jaw and made it well known he was still well armed. His end came quick, afore others was harmed. Mugshots was next for the rest of the gang, not like the Old West, where they'd probably all hang. Bundy called back to the gang at Malheur and told them to get while the getting is sure. Federal warrants is a swirling like snow. If you ain't caught yet, you better just go. 4 riders said no. They won't take us alive. That's when Ammon's old man, Cliven Bundy, arrived. He was planning on fanning those dying flames and keep on playing his standoff games. But the warrants on Cliven were already written, and the minute he stepped on that snake, he was bitten. As soon as his airplane rolled to a stop, Cliven Bundy was caught by a federal cop. The last 4 holdouts finally read the mail. They put down their guns and they all went to jail. At last, behind bars, the whole gang was caught. Shots had been fired. One life went for naught. Troubles had hit every town for miles. All that remained was the jury trials. Opinions on that came from far and wide. Should they all go to prison? Should we just let 'em ride? Can a man with a gun saunter into a place, scare everyone off, and call it God's grace? It was easy to tell what sides people took. Some wanted acquittal. Some said, throw the book. Now, as anyone knows who knows the Old West, not everything always works out for the best. Best would have been the whole gang in a pen so they couldn't ride out and do it again. A seizure of land that to you don't belong with guns as your say-so is just plain wrong. In the end, though, the court said, let 'em all go. Let this whole episode melt away like the snow. The snow indeed melted. The wildlife returned as if nothing had happened. But was anything learned? Nature abides. We ride on her back. Like riders on horses, we're all on a track winding over an earth with mountains and plains and oceans and forests and life-giving rains. An earth we can't claim as our own for a minute. Our days are too short. As soon as you're in it, life hands you a note saying, your time is done. Ride to the west toward that red setting sun. The best you can do is pass good things along. Stamp out the brush fires. Do no wrong. Love your neighbor and love the earth. What we leave behind is all that we're worth. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, microphone. Yeah, my name is Alyssa Barvin, and I will try and pull up a poem if I can. Sorry. Okay. Okay, got it. So this poem is called The Story Shortage of 2025. And, yes, here it is. The Story Shortage of 2025. Nothing would connect, nothing would congeal into a tale, no beginning, middle, end. Here's only eternity sold cheap, a blank check for forever, floating in torn pieces on pieces of the melting ice, and the tides gone stagnant, and the teller's lips gone slack into the line of the flatlining machine beside a hospital bed. If I still can't think up a narrative, I guess that we could play a game of call and response, little loss to big loss. When I say cake crumbs, you say coffins. When I say coffins, you say reef. Stranger, have you also wondered how to handle all these kids who wave their innocence like it's a knife in your face, making their impossible demands, e.g., promise me that everything will be all right? A plastic knife, brittle, splinters when used, pieces eaten by the gulls and the fish often resulting in their deaths, forming a large island landmass somewhere beyond the California coast, until the subway muggers seem like a relief. The things they want you do have, if not in the desired quantity, and are replaceable. You don't have to say, sorry, I can't give you a childhood. What little of it that I had's been lost for nearly 30 years. There are no stories here. Find something else to do, maybe strip the form from content, strip the leaves from twigs, strip organs from the frog in a high school biology class. This is a time of amputations and disordered parts, scrambled constellations just lying there on the table where we wanted to have eggs Benedict for breakfast, and my mother saying, "Who will clear the table?" and "Will somebody please clear the table?" That table was never meant to be used for dissections, but lots of things turn out as what they're never meant to be. Don't look so appalled, you should be used to it by now. I remember assuming the frog would feel squishy for some reason, like squelching rain puddles in rubber boots, but with a scalpel. Thought that it would fall apart the way a question falls apart when it is answered, and the answer is a knife moving down the belly. I was wrong on that. Stranger, don't say I didn't warn you there's no plot to this. This isn't spring, when plants pop up as questions posed to me in language that I cannot understand. Wide maw of sky yawned open how a dog yawns, when awoken by a sound it cannot place. Now it's not the sound, it is the sudden lack of it. I remember in the cabinets of the school's lab there was place for almost anything. Tweezers, digital scales, and isopropyl alcohol, nitrate gloves, syringes, and small bottles of amber glass, plus special containers for disposing of hazardous material. Even your mother, though she hates to cook, knows where the flour should go when she's not using it, but I can't find a neatly labeled cubbyhole to put away the silence in, so I'm left holding it a moment for eternity and shit out of questions to dispose it with. And then the next poem, I forgot to make a title, so it just has no title for now. Hopefully it won't be too angry at me for that. So yeah, here's the second. The ghosts within us fell in love, though we ourselves did not. Your tragedies fit so well into mine, better than a spine to stomach ever could. They'd speed off on holidays and picnics, dragging out the two of us reluctantly along, where we'd occasionally attempt stilted conversation, falling from our lips like stones, like skipping stones across a creek to pass the time. Is that 5 minutes? Oh, thanks so much. So one more. This is called To a Highway Flower. For a highway flower, doesn't really matter though. Your clear cornflower blue has darkened as it's dried, curled up from an open palm into a fist, which some of us, annoyed at your inconstancy, term shrivel, but is actually something else. When I hold you tight enough to crush, you stain me with the color people claim that you no longer do possess.
My name is Ann Becker, and also I'm a Takoma Park resident. And I'm going to read just one poem from my book, Human Animal. The title is Abishah. Abishah had a bit part in the Bible. It said when David was old, meaning King David was old and he was dying, the rest of the people in his court hadn't decided who was going to be the next king. And so there was this struggle going on among different people in the court. And what they needed to do was to keep David alive until these people settled this question. And so in the Bible it said, and so they found a virgin to put in his bed to keep him warm. And this is a poem that was actually just given to me. I read a poem written by a man about this event. And I said, no, no. Also in the Bible it says, she lay in his bed and he knew her not. And I knew that was propaganda. Anyway, so this just came to me. And when I wrote the poem at that time, not sort of knowing certain things, I thought she was, I imagined her a 17-year-old girl. But I realized much later that no, probably not. In those days, she could very well have been 12 years old or younger than that. Abisha. And this is Abisha speaking. My Lord, you are a marvel, an old mountain rising from the sea. But don't speak to me. Your shaky, breathless voice will spoil this night. Let me see you as I will, the old mountain, hard rock. Yes, I am a virgin in the Greek sense. I've come to give you one night ripe with the old sense of conquest, the fertile land taken into your dominion. It's easy for me to give this way. The soft, moist earth breaks under the plow's blade, and I'm beautiful that way. To ride your horse into battle in the midst of your brave soldiers, young like you, they loved you. Your hard thighs pressed your horse among theirs. You all cried wild for the sea and sweat, the smell of death as your enemies fell screaming. In the night, by the fire, you sang them songs, lullabies to your brave soldiers and your God, the giant's death. You feasted with your men, tore the goat's flesh from its bones as if those who were once your friends were now enemies. You were wild and happy as you never have been since the war ended and the kingdom united. I know, my mother told me how it was then, but I'm young now, very young and small beside you. They think I've come to save you, to sweeten your bitter old age. Yes, I'm young, but I've known many men, never a king, of course, since you're the only king we've had in my lifetime. Your flesh is slack over the old hard muscles, but you're a man for all that. Your wiry hair like stiff meadow grass, your forearms are strong still. You grip my wrists, but David, I'm not helpless. Hush, your face is still beautiful, and I love you this way. In the morning, I'll have nothing to say. This mountain has been crumbling for years, and all your tears can't move me. It's not fair. If you were young now, you wouldn't love me. And old, I only love you in the dark.
Hello, folks. Can you hear me? Okay, that's really strange. I go by Quasar. I'm going to be reading with Maritza Rivera two voice poems. It's the two of us reading together in tandem. We'll be here sometime during this coming year. I don't know when yet. But we will also be at Words Out Loud in its new venue at Glen Echo. I don't even know where, but Glen Echo, but it's in one of those buildings You can look it up on the website. Words Out Loud. That'll be the first Friday in August. There's also an open reading there. I'm trying to memorize my poems, so I'm gonna try these out on you. Here we go. Instinct to Light number 7. Falling heavily up into light. At the pinnacle of light is the true gravitational base in disguise. This deep heaviness of light pulls you up until you fall in ever upper sky. Light at the upper reaches becomes manifest as pure mass. Once you get high enough, light's sovereign pull holds sway, an incontrovertible pull that will not be brooked. It trumps the normal expected fallback. It hauls you the rest of the way until your mass, yourself, is light's mass, pure in the falling into, pure in the falling up. All things consciousness touches are indistinguishable in the sheer shine, light's mass. Okay, now I'm addressing the last conscious beings alive in the universe. We're going all the way through to the end of time. In universal grief before the coming heat death. The heat death is the point of entropy where everything is all spread out and dissipated and cannot gather itself together to organize itself in higher structures. So and point of entropy. In universal grief before the coming heat death. Here we now see you already in grief, as you see yourselves as the last of the last ones, as you begin to see the end of all. We are mirrors of each other's consciousnesses. We seeing you deep in the gravity well of the heat death, you seeing us deep in the springtime of the universe. We are grieving in the spring as you begin to grieve for all. We are dying in the spring as we watch you die. Our throats are already parched, for time is transparent, and we are rats caught in the glassy labyrinth of time, talking about bone dry at the bottom of the well of time. When you look back and see us, all we can do is love and wave. You'll recognize us by our eyes, for we've been crying for you and all us all the way through time. Sure, the sun was bright and the grass was green, but we felt the heat death creeping up through time, and we cried and shivered for you and all us eons before you opened your eyes. Wake up. It is morning on the last day of the universe. We are with you, you last ones, to the void fall, to the end. We are with you. Hold our eyes as we hold yours. We are with you, you last ones, to the void fall, to the end. Hold our eyes. Hold our eyes. We are with you. That's for all of us. Okay, now I've got a lot of poems. No people did eco-disaster poems here tonight. I've got many poems about extinction, all kinds of extinction. I'm not reading those tonight. I'm reading the possible antidote. If we get past this bottleneck that we are in now, and we all know what that is, right? And it could be 200 years, it could be 300 years, it could be 1,000 years, who knows? Who knows? Okay, this is called Thanks, and I don't have this memorized, so I'm reading it. Thanks and praise from the far future for saving the earth. Here it's the future speaking back to us. We thank you from the far future. We are the descendants and offspring of your great-great-grandchildren. We thank you from the far future for saving the planet and the life that teems on it for us and all consciousness. We thought we should thank you while you are still alive and can feel our heartfelt warmth. We thought we should thank you while we are still unborn and barely wriggling in your thoughts of all the heaviness of what is yet to come. We thank you from the far future, for we know you struggled to save us, and we say, well done, because we know you did it. And yes, we look forward to the descendants of our own great-great-grandchildren thanking us for saving the earth for them, and applauding us, saying, well done, because we know you did it. This is a message from your far future. This is a message from our far future. We thank you for saving us, the planet, and consciousness, and yes, we look forward to being thanked from our far future in turn. This is the chain of gratitude stretching back from all of our far futures. We all borrow from the far future to build the honeycomb of consciousness. We, in turn, lend you our strength, bending back from the far future. Take our love and pull yourselves up. Last poem. Deep Radiance number 2. I, universe, shine in love amplitudes, for which there is yet no measure except the scream. We all know better. We all know better than to think that just because the gloss is off, that we, I, universe, cannot shine brighter than ever. We all know better. We all know better to think that we, I, universe, cannot shine deeper than ever in this void vastness inside and around us. We all know better. The gloss is off the void, but the deep radiance has just begun to take hold in the void vastness inside and around us. The deep radiance has just begun to take hold. We all know better. The deep radiance has just begun to call this, all this, home. We, I, universe, have just begun to call this, all this, home. We all know better. The deep radiance has just begun. The deep radiance has just begun. The deep radiance has just begun. And thank you.
All right. I have not done this in 20 years. I'm Joanna Lungelhofer. I used to be a writer. Maybe this means I am again. I'm very nervous. So I have 3 short poems that I thought I could probably read from memory. So maybe if I forget where I am on the page, it's okay. So the first one is Why I Fall for Narcissists. He's never going to notice, so I never have to hide how I tremble when his perfect pebble eyes deign to take a skip across my surface. How he says so. Over tea and across the imagined expanse of a cozy cafe table, softened voices sift idly through sounds, searching for phrases to cover terrain untraced by arms, hands, lips, tongues. Mouths without words stumble through unspoken daydreams, linger too long against insufficient phonemes, hiding close behind the warm, shy outline of a whole story, delicate to the touch of ordinary language, eager in winter's fine-grained skin, fingers extend, waiting, testing, intertwining, a cautious clatter past abandoned china mugs. She is loved between parentheses, fumbling for the light of strangers' eyes. And this, the last one is called What I Tell Myself. The crisp red gala apple that he smashed against my just-mopped kitchen floor was softer than his fist, brighter than a bruise, and never meant to hit my body anyway.
Well, the time has come to say goodnight. Thank you all for coming. I think this was a great opportunity for people to read. Tonight in the same space, tomorrow night in the same space, there will be a theatrical production called Tonight We Leave, and it's a theatrical collage of original stories reflecting the refugee experience here in the United States. So it's free, open to everyone. You can pick up a flyer. We are Takoma series flyer on your way out, or sign up for our email newsletter. You'll get a weekly email about events going on in Takoma Park. Thank you so much for coming. Mm-hmm.